Okay, welcome back. So I have one half back from the machine shop. So the block came back. The head I'm still waiting for. He's a very busy man over there. So, well, at least I was able to start with something. No, it didn't come back from the machine shop looking like this. It came back pretty rusty looking because all they do is wash it. So obviously I cleaned it. I spray it with, once I wire wheel it, I clean it with brake cleaner just to get any crap off. And then I painted it. I go over the top, make sure it's clean. I don't do in here yet. I do polish in here, but I don't do it yet until I'm getting ready to put the pistons in. And yeah, getting the frost plugs out was a nightmare. Well, they're actually pretty easy. It's these ones. These are the hard ones. Only because, as you can see, you have the casting has a back into it. So no matter where you hit it, even if you find up in the top corner, like if you can get to right to this part, like 11 o'clock, it still doesn't really flip out. It doesn't pop out. It doesn't want to go in because there's too much backing on it. So all you can really do is get to the very edge and just sort of tap in there and try get it to go in to leave a bit of a lip and then tap it in either direction. I find going anti-clockwise is easier for me because I'm coming upwards. And once it starts to spin a bit, one side will start to come out and just grab it with the pliers and pull. But they are the hard ones to get out, them too. The rest of them, to be honest, are a doddle. If you're ever taking these ones out, just get your hammer, chisel, screwdriver, whatever you're using to hit it with, and hit one corner. So in this case, you just hit one edge right in. You hammer in here, this side will start to come out, and she'll pivot around, and then just pop it out. Yeah, even here. So I managed even after the paint to be able to clearly see the what originally was in it, BAB. On this side we have an AAB. And behind me is a canary yellow MGB I'm working on. So customer came in, a few little electrical problems in the way of we got some seat belts done, the indicators weren't working, trying to do the switch, and now I'm working on the exhaust. So I'm taking that whole exhaust out and I'm building one all the way down. So I'm just waiting for a resonator to come in. That's it. Anyway, back to this color. So it's, you can see the color I picked. It's like a gunmetal grey. And I never know what color I'm doing the engine. I don't have a set thing. I do a black, I can do a red, I can do a green, blue. I can do whatever color I want. But I try to pick what color may look best with the vehicle. So this is going into a red car. So that's why I didn't want to go with black, because I just think it's, I don't know, like this one over here I done. This one is black. And yeah, don't get me wrong, it ties in. It's black, ties in. I love the color I done here. I don't even know where that spray paint went. Somewhere here, but nice color. But I just find, again, the black you don't get to see too much of the contour, the actual shape of the engine. But again, depends on the color of the car. So like doing a red one or something different in here was going to be a bit odd. So because of the shade, I ended up going with black. But because the car is red, I can get away with doing a more unique color. And there's some colors out there, like I've seen blues, greens, reds, orange, you name it, you can get it. But what color suits what car? To be honest, it's just one of those things. So I just see a color, think of the car, what would look nice, and away I go. So anyway, obviously it didn't come back from this. I've done some work on it to get it to this point here. So let's roll on some high speed, and you can see me where I start struggling to get the plugs out, and then where I clean it, wash it, and paint it. So, whoops, roll on some high speed. See you in a minute. All right, so here we are. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to move to putting the frost plugs in. The machine shop fellow I was talking to, he uses a silicone to seal them in. It's the Permatex sealant to put in here. I don't know, I feel like it's called like Seal All, but the only thing I don't like about that is it's supposed to be great for these, but silicone. I'm not a fan of silicone on engines whatsoever. So as much as he says that's the best thing to use, I'm still reluctant to do it. I still think there was no silicone on it when I took it out, so I'm not going to put silicone on it, put it back in. So I'm going to stick to the usual, the Permatex gasket sealer, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to layer it around the edges before I put it in. These are the hardest ones. For some reason, these, you want to make sure you get to the very back of it as well, because these ones have most amount. For some reason, these ones are the ones that are going to leak on you. If anything, these are going to leak, and you want to get them done right now. Otherwise, if you find that leak when you put the engine back together again, it's hard when it's in the engine to get a good point in here to tap it in further. So like, make sure you put a fair amount on it. I'm kneeling. If you're wondering why there's a big carpet on the ground, it's actually a removal blanket. It's one of the huge ones, but unfortunately I ripped it. I got a drill stuck to it and ripped it, so now before I throw it out, I'm using it because I also get fed up when I do this, put these together with all the, whether it's this or the assembly lube, it's always dripping onto the stand, onto the floor, so I've decided at this stage I'm just going to put a moving blanket over it to catch it all at this stage, so yeah. Anyway, so some Permatex gasket sealer. I want to make sure I got a good blob in there. I want to make sure I seal this well and tight when it goes over. And again, it's only a paste, so I can always wipe it off. But now the only way to get these things on is to be honest, smash them on. So my suggestion, what I'm going to use is a impact gun socket. They're designed to take a good bang, so otherwise you'll flatten your normal sockets if you decide to use them. I know that because I've done it, and then you waste sockets. So these are the most important ones. I want to make sure I get a lot of stuff in here, because I want to make, these are the ones that always leak. So I say when I put them in, if any are going to leak, it's always these. I've never had any other leak except these. So what do we use to put them in? So here's our frost plug. There's different sizes. You can start, I'll start with the smallest one, which is like a 3/4 because it fits in. Just to get it in so far, and I'll go with bigger size to make sure I tap all the way till it's flat against the back. So send it all the way home. Obviously you don't want anything narrow on it. You don't want that narrow, because the narrow edge is just going to push it down the middle. The only hard part about this is getting it to go in all the way first. So you can hear the sound of it as it hits the back wall, but I still like to make sure it's in all the way. So I try to get one that fits on the rim. Right. The far side, we don't have to be as we don't have to go in all the way with it, simply because if you go in all the way, you're going to lose it. These are the only ones that get pushed in all the way. The only hard part is because it's on wheels, stopping it from moving. Alright. So now that is done. Wipe it away, and at least that's done with them. Now we'll move on and do the rest of them. Again, we don't have to worry too much about the front ones, about these going in all the way. So you don't have to put some Permatex on this one. You don't have to, but I still like to do it. Oh, I done that. Caught it. It was about to drip onto the ground. Natural reactions to catch something. And it's on my hand. Great. Where's my other socket? Now, this is the socket I said to be mindful of that you'll break, but these you don't actually necessarily have to use a socket with. Actually, I hope you can see. You don't necessarily have to use a socket with. You can actually, to be honest, tap them in straight, but I don't like that because every time I do it, it just keeps folding. Like it wants to pop out. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to put this one in. I'm going to have to do this, so it's going to slide with me. Oh, go get a socket for it now. So I'm not going to smash it in until it's literally level with it. That's it. Now, oh, didn't bring a socket for this one. That one went in a little bit more because that has a lip on the edge. So again, I want to make sure it touches that lip. Alright, so now we're on the far ones. These are the easiest ones over here. The easiest, but sometimes can be the hardest. Only because of the size of them. And again, what can make them hard is trying to get them in without this thing moving. Because as soon as you do it, the thing wants to spin around. So I have banged many of my finger off these and hit myself. This is probably the most likely part of the whole engine build where I'm most likely to hit my fingers with the hammer. It is a miserable day out there. Spring is just about here. Well, more or less is. It's Sunday, it's the day before Paddy's Day, and it has typical Irish weather. Yes, that's what I want. I feel like I'm back home. The rain. So. I should have high speed this video, to be honest. What I'll do is I'll get one in to show you and I'll high speed the rest of it, and then I'll continue on with cleaning all the underneath. So I'll get my tool out and I will polish up all the bottom, polish up all where the bearings and all, where the crank is going to go, and do all that jazz. Alright. So this is the only one to be mindful of, like I said, because these ones don't go in all the way. So you only want to get them to the flush. Anyone's wondering, I'm using a 15/16 socket for this. So there we go, there's a nice and flush one. That should be fine. And again, the good thing about putting the paste in is that will help seal it as well. What else is helping seal it? Well, the amount of paint and clear coat I put on it as well. This is that extra amount. It will chip and break, but that's why all the bottom is clear, because then if you really want to, you can turn it upside down and flush it out. But to be honest, that's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to continue putting these on in, and then we're going to clean up the bottom. So guess roll on high speed. Okay, so now we have the bottom end done on the way after I've cleaned it all, and it's pretty much ready for bearings in the crankshaft and the cam as well. Before I do that, I'm going to clean the cylinders, and I'm going to clean where the tappets go, lifters, whatever you want to call them. But the reason why I want to do this now is because I want to have this clean before I put the crank in, because if I put the crank in, put this in, any dirt or crap is going to go down and sit on the crank, and I don't want that because the bearings are going there. So now it's time to clean this end before we start putting everything into the engine. So what do I clean it with? Well, very simple. I use one of these, which is like a polishing head. You can get them in any auto shop at all. Crappy tire, all that jazz, you can get them in. It's just a simple cloth, just a polish one, it's just a cloth one. And some Varsol. So nothing special, just spray. And then wheel. In my case, I have to hold this. I don't have a run when it comes out, because trust me, it gets messy. So I have that out. Give it a wipe. You can see how black it is. Well, between the Varsol, don't get me wrong, that's not exactly a clean cloth, clean head. It used to be cleaner, but still, the whole point is just to spray it and just get any dirt or debris. And you can feel now the smoothness along the edge walls of the cylinder compared to the roughness from everything else that went in there. So now I have them nice and smooth, because then when I put the the assembly grease and all in. There's no grit that sticks to it, and therefore I don't have that problem of well, stickiness inside there that can rub up against the sides of the piston, and you never know. Alright, so I do the same for here. I just use a wire brush instead. So I put on the drill, I have a little wire head. Again, I go through there, I just spray it all, and I go through it. I don't spray the whole thing in one go because it all just drips through. So just one at a time, I work my way down, and I clean them all so they're nice, clean as a whistle, and so we don't get any sticky parts. So, well, I don't think you want to see me doing this at normal speed, so I guess it's roll on the high speed as I do this. Okay, so we're back. So now I have this nice and clean. So after I cleaned it and actually sprayed it, what I done was obviously I turn it upside down and I blow it off. The reason why is that the piece I use actually is linen, so at the end of the day, fibre comes off it. So with the fibres coming off, you get absolutely everywhere. So what I really want to do is make sure is that I wipe everything down, blow it all off, and then get a clean rag and make sure I clean it. Obviously, I want to check all the veins and channels to make sure they're clear of any fabric, because, like, you know, even now, I'm still finding bits of it. They'll get in there. And that's the thing, you don't want this affecting the engine. You don't want it affecting it whatsoever. Oh dear. Interesting. But you don't want it affecting it, so that's why I make sure to clean it, and make sure to clean where the cam is. It's important to get a cloth in there clean it, because anything you blow around the dirt is obviously really want to go down, so getting in there is important. Now, if you want to get your cylinders, and the final thing I'll do before I put it in, if you want to get your cylinders clean, believe it or not, what's great for getting into these cylinders to clean them is a toilet brush. Yes, an actual toilet brush. You get a toilet brush, hopefully a new one. If anyone uses a used one, I don't want to know about it. Get a toilet brush, get your rag, or at least a good nice, like this was clean when I started, and wrap it in it. Make sure you give it a good wrapping, and then believe it or not, you can actually plunge it down and turn it at the same time, and you get both grip, the bristles shouldn't come through, and you get a good pressure to actually clean it. So believe it or not, the toilet brush is actually pretty good for cleaning your cylinders. So there you go, there's a new one for you. Anyway, that's if you don't have that wheel. It's another way of doing it if you don't have the wheel I have. So obviously I cleaned it all. Now, so what's next? Normally I'll put the camshaft in, and then do all that, have it in, and then put the crankshaft in. But I actually took the frost plug out for the camshaft, the one at the very back. After everything, I decided to take it out because I didn't like when I cleaned it that I wasn't sure if it was fully clean in there, so I decided to pop it out and say, no, I'll just change it anyway. Now, how do we get that out? Well, you see, here's a little trick. Do not, under no circumstances, try take it out from the outside. I have done it, and I find all you do is destroy that section. Because when you tap it, it sits against, there is a lip and it stops the plug from going all the way, so you bang it in, it will press up against a flat surface. Because you can't smash it in, you'll end up trying to get the edges and pull it out, and again, you're only going to score the engine, and you may end up doing damage to the inside. The worst thing you want to do is score the inside of that, because that's where your cam spins around. So obviously that'd be a huge thing if you score that, because now it's going to rip and it's going to cause problems. How do we get it out? Well, you have to get it out from the inside. Best way to do that is, hang on, in my pocket, extensions. If you happen to have a good socket set or a load of them, get extensions. Keep extending it. Now in my case, I got the 1/2 inch and added it on. I had a big long one, and just pass it through. Pass it through from the front. Work your way all the way to the back until it butts up. Hold it and keep smashing it, and it will come out. I wouldn't suggest or advise you to even go this direction. You could, but again, because you're coming at like a 45, you always have the chance of scraping or scoring where the bearing, basically, if there is a bearing in there, or the housing for the camshaft, so where the lobe goes, or the oh, I can't think of it now, the journal. So you don't want to scrape that whatsoever. So the best thing to do is make up a load of these and put through. If you have to get a broomstick, then put a broomstick in there. I mean, get a broomstick with no end, put it right through, give it a tap, and out it goes. So just do that and try not to do it the other way, because you'll regret it. And once you score it, you may never be able to get it back, or you're gotten to the point that you have to machine it to put bearings in there. And then again, there's your extra cost. All because just trying to get that frost plug out. Now, what happens next? Now I said usually I normally put the camshaft in first and I do all that. But what I would do, and again I'm flipped, I'd normally, because I took that off, there's no room. There's no room to get the frost plug back in. And most of all, there's no room to get the oil seal down for the crankshaft. So as much as I'd love to put the cam in first, which I normally do, I can still, but I'd like to be able to put the cam in now. And the only reason why is that there's loads of room to put your hand in there and hold it, just because when it passes through and you get so far, the weight of it, there's more weight on the inside than the outside, so it falls down. And you don't want to be knocking the lobes off the edges here as it's passing through in an ideal world. So it's easier to do it this way. The only thing I don't like doing it is when there's no end in it, is because you always have the opportunity of pushing it, and goes too far, it goes through, pops down, and you end up knocking it off. I'm not fond of that, but the best way to do this is actually put the cam in first and just leave it there. Once I put it in, I'll leave it there, because I could put the crank in first, absolutely. I could put the crank in, do all the bearings, do the thrust washer, check the end play, and that's it. And then put the cam in. But it's just, for room, it's easier to do this. I'm just not fond of doing it when there's no cap on it, just because it has the ability, it doesn't take much for it, but grease in there, the lube, for it to actually, if you slide it. And the reason why is, think, well, it's flat. Well, for me, it won't be, because once I get the crank on, I have to get it off this. And the best way to do that is to put it on a table or so on. I have two stands, so I basically run this up and I lift it up onto it, but it goes up at an angle to begin with. I just don't want to be mindful that when it's at an angle, pitched up, that the cam can slide. And I just don't want it to slide out. That's why I don't like doing it with no end on it. But again, it's totally up to you. I'm still going to put it in. Hopefully it won't slide out. And once I get it up onto the stand, I can now unbolt this, and that will allow me to actually put the frost plug in the end, and also put the oil seal on the end of the crankshaft, because that you can't get that in here either. I mean, it's just not enough room, especially if this is the short block one, or the short end one. If you had the long, really early one that was longer, it'd be even worse for room. So it's actually, believe it or not, it's not bolting it on, it's getting it past. It's the room between here and where the crank ends. There's no room to slip it down. So I end up taking this off. So I put it on the stand, take it off, put them on, put it back on it, and off it comes, and then continue on with the rest of the build. Anyway, so that's it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start putting grease up all the stuff I need. I'm going to put the cam in. Obviously, I'm going to go check that now. I'm going to make sure everything is all right. The lobes are okay, that the journals are okay before I put it in case it needs a new one. And then I'm going to assemble, grease all the parts I need to. So I can just come along and drop the crank in there. Once I put it in, obviously I'll put it up and I'll start doing the testing, and then I'll check the end play. So yeah, I guess we can do a little bit of high speed while I get all that assembled. Alright, so roll on some more high speed. Alright, so the crank is on. I ended up putting a brand new camshaft in because I inspected his one, and a few little things. There was one, I want to say it was 70% okay, but some of the lobes had just some pitting just at the edge. Two of them did, and it was really scored where the fuel pump actually was. So where the lobe for the fuel pump, or the journal for the fuel pump. So because of that, and don't get me wrong, he's going through the extreme. It's being machined out. The crank is being machined and everything. you get to that point that what's the few extra 200 or 300 for the brand new cam just to complete the engine. So it'd be on the safe side, especially doing all this. Do you know what? I just put the extra in. Like, it'd be different if you got a cam that was recent enough and was in perfect condition. Absolutely. But the scoring, when I see any scoring on a cam, it never looks good. So with that, I decided to throw air caution. I'm going to put that. But this nice, beautiful crankshaft. So just came straight back from the machine shop. So still a little bit greasy, but not too worried about that. I'd rather, as long as it's not dirty, it's going bearings, grease going to go in there anyway. That's it. So it was machined to 10 over. That's it. It's not look nice and shiny. Anyway, what I was saying here is you can see the space. So now, and this is the short back. So this is the short back one, and if you're thinking about it, and this is what I say about the 72 is where it gets confusing. This is a late 72, so it's a CF number, CF something like 683, I think it is. This one's still a CC. Sorry, I'm thinking that one's a CF number. This one's still a CC, so it runs the early one. Because it goes up to CF 12500. Just be mindful that even though it's a recessed block and a short, it still runs the early head, the early cam, and the early valves, which are the larger the size. So that said, late 72 is that in between. Once you get to CF 12500 onwards, that's when then she runs the different cam, and the head is different and the valves are different. Now, in saying that, and I talked to the machine shop, and I don't know, have a little thing of yourself. He's saying that you can still take your late engine and machine it and put the early valves in there and have it, because then you get the larger size and you should get more power, but you're still running the push rods and the cam as a late. You're just making the valves bigger. So you just machine it, gets reseated, and you put the early valves in, or as big a valves as you can. And he was saying that's because they do the racing cars, so he machines and does all the racing here locally at Brighton Automotive, Brighton Speedway, should I say. And he was saying that's pretty good. Now, again, the British cars, I'm not fully sure. I don't know if it works the same. But, oh no, that's something to throw out there, is that maybe in the late ones, if you're getting their head done, get a machine and put the early exhaust valves on it, not the late ones. So get the bigger exhaust valves, because all the inlets are the same from start to finish. They're all the same size. But maybe that's the way forward to get that little bit of extra power in it. So anyway, food for thought. Anyway, that's it for tonight for me. I'm going to clean up, and I've moved stuff around. I have an engine to strip and put away. I have another engine to throw out. And yeah, I'm waiting for a starter motor for this thing that hasn't arrived yet. And I'm waiting for an exhaust that hasn't arrived for this either, the MGB. So yeah, that's me for tonight. And I will go up and I'll get back onto this tomorrow. So appreciate it, and see you in the next part. Again, any comments, questions, or concerns, give me a shout. Any points or tips, any other relevant information you can throw out there that's helpful to people, absolutely throw it up there. I'm always for it. Knowledge is power, and that knowledge helps everybody from every way, shape, or form, including me. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next part.